G'day members, welcome to our live page, not our live page, our preview. Sorry, it's been a bit of a long day. Look, Flemington's very difficult tomorrow. It's just a very difficult day. So it's 130 horses running over 9 races, and it's certainly quite difficult. So as we sort of head through the sheets, just pay a bit of attention to the KPIs. So generally, you know, we get some races where some things agree with each other, and that's generally a good pointer towards a horse rating well and then winning or running well. But as you'll see in some of the later races, there's a few races that not a lot agrees with anything. So it hasn't generally been my tactic to avoid a lot of races, but at the same time, I haven't really seen KPI measurements come back looking, so all over the place. So we'll just we'll see what happens when the horses get scratched. But on to the first, and look, I thought that this horse El Greco, he looked to go pretty well. I think that he won quite well at Kilmore. I quite liked that win. I thought he hit the line well, and he did a pretty good job. Then he went to Swan Hill and got beat by that pretty handy horse. They didn't go all that hard, and he just sprinted home basically. So at Seymour over the 1300, that basically they've gone 11 lengths below average, and just it's been a big sprint home. And on debut at Kilmore to the 800, they've gone around 5 lengths below, and he showed a pretty good sprint. So it said it was a slow track there at Kilmore, but he got home the last 600 5.5 above standard. So really the straight was in pretty good nick, and I gave him a pretty decent class adjustment off of that run, and I think it's all worked in pretty well with Prince of Brooklyn, who was coming out of that other run. So I'm pretty happy with where this horse is. He has to overcome barrier 1, but he clearly looks the one to beat. Makatiti, look, he's got he finished ahead of Street Pride at Ballarat, and Street Pride was beaten a couple of lengths by El Greco. So El Greco and Makatiti have both basically beat Street Pride by a couple of lengths, and that's why the market and me also a little bit sort of has honed in on that runner in particular, just for the structure of the market. But I just sort of think El Greco might be a little bit better, but we'll see. But certainly, as you can see on the KPIs, El Greco's well across the top. So he's going to be probably the bet there, and we'll see how the rest go. On the race 2, and as you can see, there's not really a great deal lining up and agreeing here. We've got numbers all over the place, and it's quite a difficult race, this one. So I could pretty much go through and make a case for and against pretty much all of the runners. It's a very difficult race. So look, we'll see what happens here. I've got gold cufflinks about marked $15. Nanabet have got it 34. So they might be the bets that we'll cherry pick tomorrow in a race like this. Otherwise, if we can't get any real big value, it's not a race I want to really dive into. It looks way too hard. On to race 3, and another race that's a little bit tricky. Just have to get a line through, a bit more of a better line through the race won by a lot of love last start at Sale. Look, it's been up a while, a lot of love, but it's got some pretty good figures, especially at 1400 metres where it tends to race its best. So I think it'll run pretty well. I think that it's drawn well. I thought that Violent Snow, looked to be pretty good value here. It hit the line, quite well last start, and really went quite close to beating Anaphora, and it was a pretty good win. They ran good time on the day, and the horse was 21 days between runs. So it was a pretty good effort. It's back to 1400 now, which is a little bit of a concern. But, if we go back to its last run at 1400, it sort of wasn't far from Crystalina Largo, and it had a bit of a tough run on that occasion, a wide run. And if we sort of look at Crystalina Largo, its form ties in pretty well, with the likes of Refer and Wild Whale and whatnot. So, you can sort of make a case for that. Arzima was, good on debut, winning what's a pretty strong maiden at Echuca. I've give that a good adjustment, and then backing up and at least running to the same figure at Sale. They went 10 lengths below standard through the first section there and came home 11 lengths above standard for the 600. So certainly very slick sectionals, but it was just a sit and sprint, and it's just got my head spinning a little bit just to try and work all of this out, this particular race where they all fit in. So certainly it's in the mix, and I had a good look at Manageress as well. I thought it worked home quite well, and I think it'll have a pretty good win in it soon, Manageress, but just maybe not tomorrow. But certainly the other one is North Rosa, and she resumed with a good run. She was expected to win and didn't. We've obviously seen Faction come through that run and win quite comfortably the other day, Wednesday at Flemington, and it was a pretty good win. And North Rosa had that pretty well covered. So I think that it will run pretty well, North Rosa. But again, it was another funny little race where they didn't go hard early at Flemington, and they found their spots and just kicked home. So they're just tough to line up, these races. But certainly North Rosa looks the one to beat. On the race 4, and another difficult race, as you can see, we don't have a lot of correlation here between the KPIs either, and it's another head scratcher. Look, when Tuscan Fire's coming off hurdle runs and heavy track runs, and you can make a case for it, and it comes out $7, it sort of tells you a little bit about the race. But just on that horse, he's got a terrific record. Flemington over 2,500. His form ties in well with Taiyu, and it's just the sort of horse and race where a horse like this could get up. Kareeming's going really well. He won well off a very soft speed at Moonee Valley, and we've also got the Little Engine, who is third up, and obviously he got out to this trip last prep and really started to go well with dominant wins at Ballarat, Sandown and Flemington. And then we've got down the bottom Prince Kilcaran, who rates well on speed also. He just missed it at Pakenham, or was it Geelong? It was Pakenham on the synthetic. If we sort of track his form back last prep, he had a couple of good runs, and in particular, in a pretty low rating class race at Mornington, in a 58, he ran quite a solid performance there. And if we also have a look at another run at Mornington and a run at Sandown, he's gone quite well. So he's won at odds, but such is the nature of this race, and the mess, which seems to be the theme for tomorrow. I'm not sure what we'll do there. On to the next race, and what we're going to do here is I'm not sure. Again, We've got Anatina resuming. It probably didn't look too flash in its trials, but there's a bit of talent there in its trials. It goes pretty well first up. Likes a straight. Trials aside, if we just have a look at its form, it's pretty hard to sort of fault its form. Last prep Caulfield 1100 first up, just beaten narrowly by Fast and Rocking. The campaign before, a listed race win over Gregors, who was just beaten in the Goodwood. And prior to that, won at Jeezy on the synthetic. So it goes pretty well fresh, this horse, absolutely no doubt. So, I'd expect that it's going to run pretty well. The other horses that I thought would go well, we've got Hard Romp and Pago Rock. They come through the Lamosti form line. Playmaster won well for us at Caulfield last start. And we've got some outliers out there that can probably run well. But, so we'll just see here. It's a bit of a tricky race, but it's probably not as hard as some of the other ones. We'll see what the market does, but certainly that looks a race that we can probably have a go at. Race 6, this looks another tough sort of race, but there does look to be a fair bit of value about here, and certainly I've alerted a couple of early bets, and those bets are Rough Justice, who I think will go pretty well. He's obviously trained on the track, and he goes pretty well, this horse. So I think that he can certainly run quite well. He'll be up there on the speed and kicking, and quite difficult for him to get past, I feel. And at this stage, I think he looks worthy of an early bet. Just have a look at what price he is for the sheet. So we've got 12, 9, 10, 9, 11. We'll just put 10 in there for now. So I think $10 is not a bad price for this horse. I couldn't really probably see him starting much longer than that. And the other one's Cashed, who's come out about $10, and there's 20s available. Look, this horse, I'll just open up my other screen. I'll just talk about this horse quickly. He won really well last start at Morphettville. He ran good time relative to the day. Was quite a pretty good performance, and I think that sort of coming over, he looks off that type of run, drawn barrier 11 to get sort of down that middle part of the track. I think he looks pretty well placed to go quite well. So he's won at odds, but it is that type of day tomorrow, and I think that he's going to go quite well. So it's quite hard to really fault him at this stage, and he should be going quite well. So at this stage, there are a couple at odds. Look, I think Illustrious Lad's going really well. He has to overcome barrier 1, and he's dropping back from 1200, but certainly the form around this horse is quite strong, and you can track it back and tie it all in with Husson Eagle and whatnot, and the more you sort of look through the form, the more it ties in. So and obviously Risen from Doubt's the other one. He gets the blinkers for the first time. He's drawn out wide, and he's unbeaten at Flemington over 1,000 metres. But he has been a little bit disappointing this campaign. He's just been unable to finish his races off. So he's sort of started his races well and fell in a very big hole. So I'm not sure what the go with him is. There might be another issue, unless he's just switching off. But it's a huge switch off if that's the case. Here we go. I found this race almost impossible. I looked at it for 45 minutes and gave up. So I'll have another look at it tomorrow. I just played around with some figures, and nothing looked right. What can I say? Generally, we can get things to look pretty well, but this one just didn't come out. So, look, I think, I've got Berserk on top. It's come out $1.60. It's not going to end up $1.60, but, certainly we take the form line through one furl and spur on gold. And, that was a pretty big run by Berserk. He boxed on pretty well off a hot speed, but, the horse has been up for a while. So, yeah, I really have not really much of an idea how this is going to end up, but we will certainly do our best in the morning to sort through it after scratchings, and it might just be a good one to pass on. It looks very difficult. On the next race, race 8, this is a really good race. Pretty high quality race, this one. So, we've got horses like Tried and Tied, Mr. Utopia. They're going really well. We've got Hosting, who's been running well with some good runs behind Red Bomber. And then down the bottom, we've got Sir Andrew, who ran well last start, very fast sectionals after missing the kick. Yesterday's Song's on the backup after not firing last week. He hit that wet track at Moonee Valley, which I doubt really was to his liking at all, and he had mucus post-race. So I think he had some genuine excuses, and he was coming off a pretty big rating in the Goodwood. So, he's a fast horse with a high class figure in on the minimum, and that generally bodes pretty well. So I think they're the two down in the weights. Tiny's Legacy is probably a long shot that can work home well. I think it ran well, winning its last start. And the one I was quite keen on here, and I've had a little bit early, was Good Value. I'm sure that Mick Kent set him to probably peak at his next run over a mile. However, just the way he finished off behind Lamosti down the straight, it's very hard to ignore. Had they gone another 200 metres, he clearly would have just finished a lot further ahead of the others. And when this horse has been right, which hasn't been a lot, but it's generally been, on a firmish sort of track, especially at Flemington, where he's got some really good figures. In particular, he's going back a couple of years, but it's a 1,400 metre Flemington run behind Strawberry Boy, and the sectionals in his run first up, he ran 22.22 his last 400 at Flemington the other day, and that time behind Strawberry Boy, he's gone 22.56. So, that was off a harder tempo that day behind Strawberry Boy early, but just the fact he was able to really stretch out and run the fourth best last 400 of the day first up sort of tells me that he's back in good order. And the other positive with him is Tried and Tied and Mr. Utopia. Look, they're going to probably have some issues early from the wide gates. Tried and Tied will probably go forward and use up a bit of juice, which could be a little bit costly, especially if they're swooping. And Mr. Utopia might just get too far back, and Good Value should hopefully be able to just get into a good spot. So we'll see how that pans out. There'll definitely be some adjustments, but I was happy to mark Good Value around $6 on the figures and take a bit of that early. And then on to the last race, and look, I think that certainly Longeron, I've got him on top here. There's absolutely nothing between him and Orion. We just wouldn't want Orion to get too far back here. That could be the problem if he gets too far back. If he doesn't, he's probably on top. So we'll just see how the pattern plays here. But certainly those two are on top clearly. Refulgent's battling away pretty well this prep. It's hard to see him turn the tables on Orion, who's had him covered the last two. So I think the figures sort of suggest we can work around Refulgent tomorrow, and Smashing Doubt's coming off a big run at Moonee Valley, probably a big peak. I doubt he can probably run to that level again, but I've sort of rated him to that level at this stage, and we'll see what happens there. But look, you'd really think looking at the race that Longeron or Orion will be the hardest to beat. So we'll just see how that goes there, and that concludes the preview. So look, of the 9 races tomorrow, we're probably going to beat in 4 or 5, and it hasn't taken me this many hours to do a meeting for a long time, and the longer I did the form, the harder it got. So it's probably saying something. So we'll play a tight hand tomorrow and follow the early bets that I've just mentioned then, and we will catch you tomorrow. So sorry it's a bit late. It's been a big day, but hopefully we're rewarded for our work tomorrow with a few winners. So thanks for listening, and catch you then.